All right, folks, I want to get started. I'm going to review the agenda quickly. We start all of our forums now, if you haven't noticed, with this sentiment. Everyone is at a different place in their life. The challenge is to meet people where they are and allow them time to process their feelings while keeping the process moving forward respectfully. Maria's going to review an informal tally of our October 22nd forum on the C's. So for those of you who weren't there or don't know, we'll bring you up to speed on what came out of that. I'm going to review the survey results from a survey we took a year ago, if you weren't with us back then. We'll talk about your opinions back then about the U's. We'll then open a discussion of the U's. Then Janice is going to lead us. She's going to show us how the criteria she used for vetting the unique name nominations. We'll review the list of nominations that we have so far and some analysis that she's done. And then we'll open a discussion of the unique names. So without further ado, this is the tally of our of your opinions from the last forum.
Okay, I was actually going to do some of what you said, Byron, but
right.
I will not do that since you did. But I do thank you for staying or joining us online for today's Name Change Congregational Forum. And I want to tell you that the Name Change Task Force is comprised of Byron Johnson, Janice Sandcott, who is online, Reverend Laura, and me, Marie Phillips. So anyhow, the recap and an info and FYI for those who weren't here at our last forum in October. We opened the meeting with a brief review for your survey responses from September 22nd, and Byron touched on that. Back then, all the C choices, you closely ranked community and congregation first and second, followed by church. We then opened discussion on the question, should we call ourselves a church, a congregation, a community, a society, or something else? Everyone was allowed an opportunity to express their choice and give an explanation or pass. And this is basically how our discussion of unique names will go today. Also, Janice took an informal tally during the discussion in October. Thank you, Janice. And here's that tally. I believe about 19 or 20 people attended in October, and congregation, the unique name of, no, not the unique name, the C's. The congregation got 12 votes, community 4 votes, church 4 votes. 6 votes were open to congregation or community, and open to congregation or church had 1 vote. And 2 votes were open to any designation. After listening to this conversation, several people were willing to move from church to congregation or community to congregation. So there has been movement after we've listened to other people's ideas and reasons, which will probably continue until the vote. And then one more thing before we move on. A sampling of congregants' comments during the discussion was compiled, I think, by Katie Johnson, correct? Thank you, Katie. I'm not going to list them now, but if you're interested in seeing them, ask me after the service. And now
They were also in one of the Thursday updates.
And they were in one of the Thursday updates, correct. So now we'll go back to Byron.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you what you thought a year ago. We intentionally took this survey before we had any community discussions. We wanted to know what your opinions were on several specific questions coming in. And while I'm on that topic, we also in that survey collected our first large batch of nominations. We've gotten more nominations since then, and the committee is not narrowing down that list of nominations. We're taking them all, and you will see all of the nominations on the first ballot. We're not narrowing the field for you. Okay, so The way this question was asked on the survey was to have each of you rank this list of things on the left: Unitarian Universalist, all spelled out; Unitarian alone, the initials UU; Universalist alone, none of the above, or you have no opinion. So the way this process works is if all of us had ranked Unitarian Universalist highest, number one, this box would be 100% and this score would be 1. So the lowest any of these scores can be is 1. As it happens, so then I went through and I highlighted anything above 20%. Any box above 20% is highlighted light green. So the interpretation of this is half of us ranked Unitarian Universalists, all spelled out, as number 1, and quarter of us ranked it number 2, and then the numbers dropped off substantially after that. Unitarian alone, 20% of us ranked it number 1, and then a quarter and a third ranked it second and third. So that gave it a considerably higher score of 2.7 than 1.8. So clearly at that time coming in, Unitarian Universalists, all spelled out, was the clear preference at that time. Then the numbers, these increase steeply after that, as you can see. So I think that's all I wanted to say about the survey results. So why don't you hit it?
Yeah, is it possible to put the participants on the screen just for a sec?
Put the what?
So we can see who's in the meeting just for a sec to switch or do you have to get out of share then?
Yeah, I think I've got this that I might be able to expand, but I think I should stop sharing then instead.
So the task force was having a conversation about should we do a full round about Unitarian Universalist, Unitarian Universalist, UU. And it struck me that that number was pretty large for folks who thought they wanted to have Unitarian Universalist. So I thought instead of doing a full circle to save that time so we can do a full circle around unique names, I'm just wondering if anybody, upon seeing that information, has anything they want to share in regard to the Unitarian Universalist or one or the other, to bring into this circle, or are you comfortable at this point with seeing 75% of the people had it as 1 or 2 to have UU and kind of have it sit there for today and not worry about further discussion? But I do want to if anybody has something they'd like to bring into the circle today, to be able to do that now before we move on in the meeting. If anybody online is interested, please feel free to raise your hand, or anybody here who wants to add, at this moment about the U's that we might have in our name. If you're online, raise your hand so that I can see you, because then we'll make sure we call on you. It looks like folks online are pretty content. Folks here are pretty content. Oh, we have Lynn. All right, Lynn, let's unmute you.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to add is that however we do it, I really strongly believe in truth in advertising. And I think we need to be clear what faith tradition we are part of. I am very unimpressed with a lot of these large churches that have changed their name to drop their denomination. It can be very confusing. So I'd prefer we not do that.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. Byron.
I would add that one of the ideas we've discussed is that Unitarian Universalist could be in the name proper. It could also be in, I don't know what to call it, a subtitle, a tagline. And something like that may be on the first ballot. We don't have that fully defined, but that would make sense for that to be on the first ballot.
Okay. I don't know if there's more discussion needed.
Everybody here okay? Oh,
Jamie has her hand up. Just one sec. I think
to put Unitarian Universalism in the title would make it too long. And our history is Unitarian. We grew out of First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis. And I'd be fine if it was in a tag line, or what do you call it? But
Can I just ask you, when you're saying that our history is Unitarian, what does that imply to you?
well, that's what we are. I see Unitarian Universalist as trying to be inclusive, and this is an era of increased inclusivity, but I don't see it as essential myself.
Well, all I was going to do was second what Jamie said, that Unitarian Universalist is kind of a mouthful and kind of a long name.
I'm with Lynn on not having any denominational tag somewhere. Suggest some of these fundamentalist churches who have some really nice, warm and fuzzy names, but they're not welcoming and inclusive places. As far as the Unitarian is concerned, the Unitarians and the Universalists ceased to exist as separate entities in 1961, and it's time our name reflected that fact. We're only a Unitarian church, founded 6 years later, mind you, because our founding matriarch did not like the merger. And because our founding members came out of First Unitarian, and that Unitarian humanist, stridently secular, was a big part of this congregation for its first 20 years, and I think it's time we drop that.
Could you be more specific? It's time we dropped what?
Oh, drop the separation. Yeah. So Kathy's just saying that since the merger occurred in the 60s, that we reflect the merger that is more than 60 years old, that we're not just Unitarians.
Okay.
Kevin concurred with that for folks online. Anybody else online before we move on? That was, you guys, that was helpful to hear your thoughts. Pamela, did you have something you want to say?
There. I just wanted to say that I personally really like the Unitarian Universalist, both names. I'm not sure, I do see how that could be a long first name, depending on what we choose as our unique, and then also our C. So I think having it as a tagline may be fine, or having UU and then the Unitarian Universalist as the tagline. But I also agree that we need to have our denomination somewhere else. It is confusing without it. That's all.
I'll share again. All right. Okay, Janice, you're up.
Okay. Can you hear me all right? Byron, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. What I wanted to do is briefly describe the criteria that we use, or I used, for checking unique names. Every single name that was submitted went through this process. Plus, I included the full name. I looked for alternate names. I looked at potential initials like MSUS. And then I also looked, when I was searching for actual websites, names that could be used with a .org address. So where all did I do my searching? I went to the UUA, which has a directory. I browsed congregations by state, region, and country. And then there's also a list of certified congregations. So you can browse it, there's a directory, and then there's a list of certified congregations. The state of Minnesota, which we have to register with, also has a website where you can check names. And then I did Google searches. And the place where you put the web address, plus if you just go to Google, there's a search box. I searched all those different factors in both the address portion of a Google page and the Google search box page. And then I went to the various church places where I could search. And so I looked at usachurches.org, Church Angel. I looked at synagogues. I looked at non-denominational churches. And then I also checked the nonprofits. Now, having said all that, if we get the number of names down to what I'm going to call a somewhat reasonable number, like less than 10, then I would double check all those names again through that whole list. Plus, if there's an idea of what our website could be, we also need to check with GoDaddy, which is where we're registered with. And then Google Domains has sold their domain search engine to Squarespace. So I would also be double checking them to make sure that we have everything that we need. So those are just 2 additional places that would have to be checked when we're finished. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
My mic. Okay, I think I'm up. Yeah. Oh, crap. Yeah, should I unplug that one? Would that help? Yeah, so the committee is also very thankful for Janice. Yes. Okay, so we'll move on to a review of the unique names.
All right.
This is the whole list.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are
I can
actually,
say at this point that we'll be offering at least 2 dates on which we'll talk about, these will be Zoom meetings, and we'll talk about how this vote is going to happen. That will include some guidelines on how to approach a list this long when you are asked to rank them. You will not be asked to rank 75 names. It'll be much simpler than that. So don't panic. Okay, so Janice, I'll turn my mic off and you can continue.
okay. Let's see, how do I want to start with this? There were originally 75 names. Once we sent out the Thursday update, there was another name suggested, which for those that wanted to compare in their own mind the lists of what we had, Warming Chalice makes number 76. And then what I did before the forum is I wanted to look at the unique names and see how many times they occurred. So I looked at the word life, which occurs 6 times. Peace appears 3. Twin Cities was 3. Loving, beloved, 3 times. Circle, twice. Morning Star, 2. Northeast, the initials, 2. Open, 2. People, 2. Prairie, 2. Welcome, 2. And then I just looked at plain location. And with all the choices that are there, that came up to about 16. And then I looked just out of curiosity at what I called feeling or emotion, like welcoming, gathering, hope, joy, life, love, seeking, etc. There's 35 of those. So I think we have a good number of unique names that we can look at, but as Byron said, at some point we will close the suggestions, but for right now, we're still accepting if anybody comes up with a good idea. So I'm going to be tallying what's going on in the discussion today. So I think Marie will be handling the actual discussion within the room, and that includes for people that are meeting on Zoom. So I will pass it all back to you guys, unless there's somebody out there that wants me to go through all 76 names.
Maybe do our tally.
Can you turn this hand mic on?
I just noticed in Janice's tally, which was really helpful, how many times we named something, and I didn't see river or water listed, which actually do come up many times. And so I would maybe just amend that sentiment, the frequency of that sentiment. Oh, there it is. Oh, thanks. That's okay. Okay, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for pointing that out. For some reason, I think it's all right. It's already in the North community, but I can point that out.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Janice, thank you for just sort of clustering some of those. I think that's helpful. And so we wanted to take time to talk about the unique names. What I'm hoping in the conversation, and Marie will facilitate the conversation, is that it may not necessarily be like, I really want Beacon, but more about like, what's the sentiment of the unique name that you think is most important? Does that make sense? That like, what is it you would love to see us capture or reflect or represent with our unique name? Feel free to say the unique name you suggested if you want, like there's no harm in that. But mostly I'm hoping this can be more a qualitative conversation versus like just the name, pass it on. I found that our conversation the other time around community, congregation, church, that there was so much richness. I think if we went around a second time, we would have heard different things. So I think, there's a lot of wisdom in these rooms and online. So I'll let Marie facilitate, but I just wanted to say that if we can kind of focus on more than just what your name is, but the why and what are you hoping we will reflect.
Okay, thank you. Another thing to add to that is, what will this unique name add, as our image? What do we want our image, the church, our church, what do we want as its image? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, as we did back in October, we're going to go through who's here, both here in the community center and online. And we can either do it one person here, then one person online, or we'll just go all here and then online. Does anybody have a preference on that? Okay. Okay, so now you can give any comments you would like about what we are talking today, mainly the unique names, and we'll pass it down. You do have the right to pass if you would like. And then after here, then we will do online people.
Okay, my name is Jennifer. I really want a name that I feel comfortable telling people. I want to have a name that when I'm talking to a 23-year-old coworker about our community, that it's a name that may be engaging to them and where they are in life. And then when I'm talking to my dear 95-year-old neighbor Grace, and telling her about church, because she asks me all the time about church, that I can share with her information about our community and have a name that connects with her too and helps her be interested in hearing more about what we're doing, which is why I nominated Merging Waters.
That's great. All right, we can go to
I'm Lori, and I would like our name to communicate what it is that we have to offer people. And also on the one hand, and also on the other hand, what is it that people are looking for that we have to offer?
You put in?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And I'm having cataract surgery in a week, so I can't read any of the
Oh, okay.
names.
Actually, ditto to what she said and what she said. And I also like merging waters.
I'm Jamie, and I don't know if I have a real strong preference yet. I can't read all the names. I don't remember them all. I like Spirit of Life, I think. I think that conveys something. I think it piques your curiosity, but also is sort of inviting on an emotional level. Has some warmth to it.
I'm Richard, and I think if we try to say what we are in the title, that gets very difficult. I would go with something simple like North Metro Unitarian Church.
Hi, I'm Kevin. This feels like the Sears Christmas catalog to me. Lots of good choices, too many. I'm also feeling new today to the congregation and realizing at some point hearing the story of Michael Servetus's origins and history would be wonderful. That said, I also appreciate that when we were looking at a church purchase, I learned that there is a geographic area that we are dedicated to wanting to serve and be part of. And so locational names are something I'm thinking about. And then I also agree with Jamie that something that brings our faith and our beliefs together. So this will be difficult for me.
Hi, so Kathy Sheeher. Building on what Jen said, has the task force specifically reached out to the folks who have started coming in the last couple of years to find out what were they looking for that led them to us? And what was their impression of the name in the first place? Just as a way of getting a little bit of better perspective, because it is people who aren't here that we're primarily thinking about when we're talking about the name, because we're all here and we know what we're about already.
Well, thinking about geographic location, I had something in mind, but I don't know if most people would think of the concept the way I was thinking of it. I thought the special name or the unique name, if it was something like Northlight, would maybe suggest the area, but also maybe help me out if I'm thinking of the right concept. What do you think of when you think of what is your North Light? What is your beacon? You understand what I'm trying to say? What is a person's North Light? Can we be that for people?
Hi, my name's Alan, and I pass.
Can we look up online and then I could talk? Either of you guys back there?
I was thinking about when I am out of town and I'm visiting someplace, and sometimes I go through I want to go to Unitarian Church. So it's what I always look for is the name Unitarian Universalist in a church, and that's the hint that, oh, I know what that church is about, so that's important to me. And I'm kind of practical, so I like the geographic also in the name.
Hi, I'm Brian. I gotta get this out of my ear. Yeah, for some reason, some of the more vague names are, they kind of remind me of some of these other churches that we've talked about who don't broadcast their denomination. They have some kind of cute name. For some reason, that would take some getting used to for me. But I get that we're not marketing for ourselves, we're marketing to others. So that's a tough one for me. I do like location, some kind of geographical thing, kind of stake our claim, if you will. So I'm pretty wide open still at this point myself. Thanks.
Yep. Byron, can you stop sharing? All right, do we want to just have people raise their hand? Okay. Elizabeth, do you want to speak?
I want to kind of go off of what Jennifer said in the beginning of when speaking to people of any age group, I would like to have something that comes across as understandable, relatable, easy to kind of feel welcoming or joining in. I'm not opposed to location based, but I'm thinking who knows where we're going to land as far as when we get a permanent building. So I don't want to get too attached to that. I personally just think that anything that has to do with waters or nature or anything kind of specific to Minnesota nature would be good, since that's kind of where we are, and nature is a theme that a lot of people can get behind and understand.
Thank you. Lynn.
I agree that I agree with Elizabeth. One of the things that I was thinking about is when we did our big project with the architects and we did a lot of group work with them. One of the themes that came through as we were talking about buildings was that connection to nature, that we wanted a building that was open, brought light in, it was literally physically connected to the nature around it. So I think that is a strong theme in this church. And it also gives us beautiful images, which is not a small thing as we're trying to reach out to others. And I think those tend to be names that are both inspirational and easy to remember. On location, I agree with Elizabeth. We don't know exactly where our next building is going to be, so I wouldn't want to make it very specific. I think north or northeast, something like that, is probably pretty safe, and does indicate the area that we hope to serve. So those are my observations.
Thank you. Janice.
Okay, I was so busy writing and tallying, I wasn't thinking. I tend to go with something like North Star. That was my favorite. But I'm pretty much open to the idea of nature or waters. Location would be a little bit more problematic for me, like both Elizabeth and Lynn. That's it.
Pamela.
Yeah, so I've been jotting down some notes because I think people are bringing up some really good points. But then I got caught up with some thoughts when I heard things. So things like, well, I think personal location, just echoing other people, Lynn and Elizabeth and others, that I think location is important because it gives an idea about where we come from, but I'm very hesitant about putting something in our name that may change, right? So, but I wonder, we keep talking about a tagline. Could we put a location in a tagline? Something like that. And that way it might help that piece of it. When I was looking at those names, this was not my first choice, not choice, but when I submitted, I submitted 2 or 3, and now I'm walking completely back from them. I really like the idea of attaching to nature, as has been talked about, and I really like the idea of waters, merging waters or gathering. I think that merging and gathering as part of who we are, I think speaks really specifically to something that I could get behind, or that makes, I don't know, feel good kind of imagery come up. I also think we might want to be really careful about names that can be confused. You know, I was talking about not having our denomination because we might sound like a mega church, like Eaglebrook, for instance. So I think, I think that we want to be careful with what is in our name. The word spirit, the word light often is used with Christian churches. And not that I'm against Christian churches, but that's not what we are, and that's not what I was looking for. So just a note of caution maybe there, but that's it.
Thank you. Chris.
I just want to reiterate what Kathy Burek said. The name is not for what I want. The name is for what's going to attract new people. So we really need to be paying attention to what people that have joined in the last couple of years believe. That's it.
Thank you. Marilyn.
Okay. I think everybody's brought up good points, and I don't have anything to say other than all the names seem pretty good, and I like the idea of putting Unitarian Universalists in our name, because that's what's most important, and we can have anything else attached to that name as long as when people are looking for us, they know that's what they're looking for. I don't know, is that confusing? But that's it.
Thank you. Stephanie.
Okay. I'm not looking for a really just a pretty name. I like the idea of water and nature. That seems to be really important to everybody here. I would also like one that reflects what we are, which is a bringing together of various ideas. I mean, when I listened today to all of the thoughts, and it's like we have a whole lot of ideas. So I would say, something that has to do with joining, coming together in community. I am not fond of a specific name like Fridley or Northeast Metro or that type of thing, because when I was looking, it didn't matter to me that it was in Fridley, but if it had said Fridley or Ramsey County or Anoka County, I live in Hennepin County, I would figure that, that's all the focus was, and I probably would not have gone or met with you guys. And it is also true that we don't really know if and when we get a building where it's going to be. So my choice, just to put this in, would be something like Merging Waters, comma, a Unitarian Universalist congregation, or comma, a member of the UUA, something like that. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Ali, did you want to speak?
I want to say something about location. In the 50-some years that we have existed, we've already been in several different locations. And some of us are thinking about where we're going to land, but that doesn't mean that's where we're going to be for the next 50 years. In other words, 20 years from now, there may be some reason where we have to leave whatever building that was we chose and find another one. So anything that's tied to, say, Fridley or even Northeast might be too limiting, and we might need to change our name again. As for the other things we've been talking about, I really like having something about nature in there. I like merging of people, merging of ideas. I really like the name Merging Waters. And I guess that's all I have to say for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Sarah, would you like to share?
I think I'll pass for now.
Thank you. Lois?
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago when Ali and I joined MSUS. And at the time, what we were looking for is community, which happily we found. So for me, it's very much about putting ourselves out there as a place of welcome, a place of gathering, coming together. And, you know, you guys know me, you know that water is the center of who I am. And so when I think of coming together and community and merging and welcoming, boy, Merging Waters really speaks to me. And yes, we need to keep the Unitarian Universalists at the end of that. It is important that people know that we are hopefully who they're searching for. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz, would you like to share?
Hi. I think that the location, the idea of a location in the name is problematic because if it's specific, then it's too specific. And if it's not specific, if it's something like north or northern, that to me could indicate a northern Minnesota, or I'm just not sure what that would refer to. I do like something that is welcoming. I feel like that is important. Those are my comments.
Thank you. That's everybody that has their camera on. Is there anyone that I've missed? Pat and Merle here.
Merging Waters, Unitarian Universalists serving the northern suburbs. Just kind of struck me. Merle? No. Pass. That's a no from Merle.
Thank you. Rob, did you want to share anything? Or Marilyn? Oh, Marilyn. Here's Rob.
I came here because of location. And I think that's something that needs to be either subtitled or something, but we're in the North Metro. I mean, we've got Hennepin, Anoka, Ramsey, And God knows they're going to build 4,000 homes right in that old Army depot. So there's going to be a lot of growth in this North Metro area. So somewhere it's got to be. I mean, I know where the Bloomington Unitarian Church is. I thought I knew where the White Bear one was, even though they're not in White Bear, but they're on the lake. So I guess you can do that. But I think this is an incredibly exciting experience about creating a name. And I'm not above a subtitle underneath. I mean, the trouble with UUs is when you say Unitarian Universalist, it's awfully long. We're going back to listen.
Thank you.
Ryder, do you want to say anything about the unique name? Oh, you already did. I thought you just said about the Unitarian Universalist. Sorry, I'm already forgetting what people said. I just want to add in my thought, Bruce added community with the U in community being UU. So it's COMMUUNITY. And my contribution was North Community, and mostly because the community to me is like one of the greatest assets of this place. So that's what kind of struck me about it. But I got to say, I like this merging water idea. It's a very peaceful name. It brings like peace to me. I can imagine beautiful logo, which I kind of like, and it has a little bit of a Zen feel to it. So I don't know. I'm very interested. I think if we did something like merging waters, we'd need to be intentional about like very close to the name what that represents. Not that because merging water could mean anything. It could be I don't know, some kind of a store, some kind of a theater company, but like, why does that matter in terms of us as a community? What's the metaphor that's alive in that name?
And I just want to add another voice to what Jen said. I don't propose to re-say that, but I need a name that I can, without cringing, say to a wide demographic. Okay, I'll just keep this mic because I think we're done. We're at the end of my agenda. We can open, how much time do we want to take? Okay, so we do have time if others have ideas. You've already spoken, but if anyone has ideas they want to add after hearing everything, we have time for that.
Thank you. Trying to recall the list, I thought I saw North Stars, plural, and North Star, I'm liking, it has that little northern inference, but also North Star has been guiding people forever and is helpful for that. And I loved Pat's serving the Northeast communities. The use of the verb serving was nice to hear.
I was just going to say, when I joined the church, I didn't want community. I had plenty of community. I really wanted, and what you said about guiding is what sparked it. That's why I came. I wanted to hear useful things that were going to help me be a better person and help teach my children to be better person. I wanted help with my moral compass. And the community came after, and I'm pretty slow to warm up, but probably like 5 years after I started coming. I just couldn't wait to get in that pew and hear what people had to say. I don't know. So I just think, again, merging waters to me, where it has potential and I like it, doesn't communicate what we have to offer. And I think, and I know my daughter's looking for a church to help her develop her son's moral compass in this era of social media, bullying, etc. How do you? So I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what's just jumping in my mind.
I know I've mentioned it before, but we are going to have a congregational survey come out, maybe as early as next week. That's part of a leadership seminar It's a professional organization that surveys congregations. And we will get to some of these questions about, like, we might get some really rich material from that from people sitting at home and responding to questions. So we'll see what comes of that too, and whether that helps inform some of what we decide. I think it's the thing that I think is so beautiful is that there's like obviously passion. I hear people going to their hearts as they're talking about this. So let's just hope we can figure it all out. Anybody else have something? I see a hand over here.
Yes, Lois noted in the comments that no matter our name, our location will be part of our address.
Thank you, Lois.
Okay. All right. Forum adjourned. Thank you all for your attention.
In the Thursday, I think you had
Yeah.
mentioned that.
Yep. Same as the last forum. Yeah. So the informal tally of comments will be published in a Thursday update, as we did for the most recent forum in October. Okay. One more comment.
I was just going to say why I am here. I looked for a Unitarian church. And I mean, anything else, I'd work around that. Because my daughter goes to the Reston Unitarian Church in Virginia.
Is that Reston Church in Reston, Virginia? So they succeeded being located where their name is? I do appreciate that we have two congregations here that are like misnamed with their cities. So I think that is helpful. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Really helpful.